came down to is that he was misappropriating funds, using it for whatever his own thing, and the board had enough. And at this point, that's when all red flags raised up to me, because coming up to this particular point, there were times where the guy would text, tell me, yo, can you send me an email saying that I gave you $300 for, listen, coming from where I come from. Welcome to another episode of Don't Quote Me on the 27th Letter Podcast. My name is Lanray Onegbinde Bay. Today we're going to delve into friends versus business. Now, back in 2010, I got out, okay? And one of the things I needed to do was control the narrative. You know, I had a friend of mine said, you know what? I guess you must have went on the internet after I came out and punched in my name. She's like, yo, don't ever Google your name. And, you know, basically she's telling me, like, you know, this negative stuff they wrote has been written about you. So part of the thing I needed to do was control the narrative, and I needed to put in work. And one of the first things I wanted to do was start volunteering. Unfortunately, when I came out, for whatever reason, I wasn't able to go to college as I had planned to. When I applied, they said my SIN, social insurance number, got deactivated. When I went to the social insurance office to find out why was my social insurance deactivated, which is what I need to work legally and go to school, they said, oh, I don't know, they gave me some nonsensical answer, which was, oh, my SIM was inactive. And I know guys that were being incarcerated longer, double the time. I think somebody just came out after 30 years and the SIN is fine. So for whatever reason, whoever had other plans for me aside from going to school. They did not want me to go to school, no work. I don't know what their plan was, but I had to figure it out with these obstacles in my way. So one of the things I started to do was volunteering. And one of the places I volunteered with was Bright Future Alliance. Bright Future Alliance was a nonprofit ran by a guy named Segan. And I knew Segan from prison. So I'm going to take you back to 2007. I'm in the library in prison reading the newspaper, and I read about this young man who just pled guilty to manslaughter. And I noticed his name was familiar because it was a Nigerian name, which is where my father and mother's background is. So I was like, oh shoot, oh man. And usually with the job I kept while I was in that particular prison in 2007, which was Fembroke, I worked in the chapel as a cleaner. So any new inmates that come in usually goes through the chapel first to start. That's part of the process. So, I mean, like 2 days later, after I read this article about this guy, Seagate, he walks into the church, and I'm like, yo, boom, I just read about you, and you know, we hit it off, so on and so forth. And he'd always come to the chapel to talk to the chaplain, so I saw him very frequently in the chapel. Plus, we played bat sports. You know what I mean? We didn't live in the same housing unit in prison, but you know, we were very familiar with each other. So fast forward to 2010, I'm walking on the beach somewhere, and this guy hops out of it's like, oh my God, oh, listen. Oh, he was so happy to see me. He's telling me what he's been up to. And I remember him talking to the chaplain about some of his plans, which was, you know, exactly what he came out to do, because he got out like a good maybe 3 or 4 years before I got out. So now he told me, hey, listen, I have this nonprofit organization, come work with me, come volunteer with me, and so on and so forth. So I'm like, cool. So I started volunteering with him, and we started this thing called Cooking for a Change. Remember, in my previous video, I talked about my diet, how I gradually changed it. So at this point in my diet, I wasn't eating meat, or anything like that, or chicken, but I still ate fish and I still ate dairy. But these children, this Cooking for Change pretty much is an after-school program where we get groceries and we cook food for the children. Well, I cook food for the children, so a lot of the food I'm cooking is not vegan. It's just meat stuff, meat-oriented stuff, which I'm still able to do, right? The principle still remains the same. It comes down to seasoning, no matter what you're cooking, vegan or not. So we started Cooking for a Change, and one of the things that Segan promised me was that, I don't know how this grant thing works, but he's like, listen, I don't have money for you per se right now, but when he does the next grant, he's going to make sure he pays me, and then make sure that I also get compensated for the work I had previously did the year before. So basically, I'm volunteering, and the money for the groceries, he gives it to me to buy groceries. I think it was like $40 I used to buy groceries to cook for these children. And this happened like once a week. So this went on for a while. And then, again, I'm new to all this. When you have a nonprofit organization, you gotta have a board and so on and so forth. So I'm familiar with a couple of people who are on the board. And then one day, I don't know, maybe like a year or so into us doing this, he comes to me, he's like, yo, we got to go to a meeting. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, let's go to this meeting. He goes, yo, make sure you have my back. I'm like, have your back? I'm like, what is this guy talking about? So it turns out the board, whom he hired, who he appointed, had an issue with him with the funds and how it's being spent, So what it basically came down to is that he was misappropriating funds, using it for whatever his own thing, and the board had enough. And at this point, that's when all red flags raised up to me, because coming up to this particular point, there were times where the guy would tell me, yo, can you send me an email saying that I gave you $300 for, listen, coming from where I come from, and us being in prison, I understand. I kind of understand what was going on. Like, he just needed me to help him do his papers. With my emails, I'm helping him do his, account his papers. But I guess he was really overspending and spending on whatever he was spending on. So now I'm looking back, I'm like, oh man, I really aided and abetted this guy in him misappropriating funds. Because the whole time he's using those emails and saying, oh yeah, I paid this guy this, I paid, which he didn't. And for years he didn't, he still hasn't paid me. I don't want to get into this, man. Like, bro, you got your karma already. I'm just being transparent about what happened back in 2011, 12. So at that point, I pretty much was like, I'm going to have to go my separate ways. And I think that's when I got involved with Victor. Victor, who he had his own issues. To come to find out, he's misappropriating funds. I don't know what's going on with quote unquote black people in this sector. It's like the smallest amount of money they want to pocket it, and which goes to show you that that's why we get nowhere. You know what I mean? And I see it constantly. I think during around the George Floyd time, there was a lot of funds thrown to quote unquote black organizations, and I noticed this person getting this money, but nobody's doing that. A guy like Farley Flex, he's a guy, he got funding, I don't know, I think got $250,000. And when you look, and you're supposed to use the money within the community to do programs and so on and so forth. But if you look what the man is doing, it was like copying and pasting stuff. He wasn't even really hiring nobody. And, bro, money goes out and nothing is done. And this is why, quote unquote, black community suffers, because every time, from the biggest leaders to the smallest ones, like your Segan and your Farley, they're pocketing money, which goes to show you this black power thing is nonsense. If you look at BLM, that well, we know this about them, you know what I mean? They were just the LGBTQ community usurping the black power movement, you know what I mean? To finance their own thing and become millionaires. So it's not solely, I'm not solely putting on this one person, Segan. I'm just talking about my experience, but it's a common theme amongst these so-called non-profit organizers out here that just go for funding and they just pocket it or do back dealings with their friends, and so they get kickbacks and so on and so forth. And you might think in other communities they probably do the same, but on a grand scale, on a big picture scale, they're not doing it to pocket anything. If they're pocketing, they're still leaving enough behind to get some work done, to help the community grow. Okay? But quote unquote, black people will just run the well dry. And everybody's gonna run away. Oh, where's the money? We have no money. And then they wanna blame this. The white man is the devil. Oh God. Oh. Meanwhile, you need to look at the man in the mirror. You know. So that situation with Segan taught me the difference between friends and business and so on and so forth. Because even with my own personal business, I see it. It's not so much friends or family that support. It's really strangers that come out and support. And I'm grateful for these people, these strangers that come out and support and promote my business endeavors. I appreciate you guys, you know, I really do. So this is why sometimes it's like, you know, like, be careful who you call friends, man. Be careful who you label as a friend. You know, I thought Segan was a friend, somebody I could trust coming out of prison, but yet he's out here just taking advantage of the situation, which is a learning lesson for me. You know, I learned and I kept it moving. But again, I went to another nonprofit organization with reintegration services that this guy Victor ran, and again, the same nonsense, misappropriating funds and so on and so forth. I don't know, bro. I don't know. It's not looking right. It's not looking bright for quote unquote the black community, and again, it's by design. Yes, some of the things that quote unquote black people got to go through within society, but when you give us the ball to run with it and do something with it, often than not, these guys are dropping the ball because everything they do is self-serving. We have organizations that have been there forever, and you are like, what? Who are you helping? Let's see the names and the children you're helping, and they can't come up with it. ED's been there for 15, 20 years, just eating. Same result. Nothing is happening. A lot of these organizations, quote unquote black organizations, are useless. My idea, what I think, is first of all, we need to consolidate. Okay, consolidate. Everybody get together on the same accord instead of just trying to fight for the same, step on each other's back for the same funding. Get together like most other communities do. Get together, get a bulk of the funding, and then assign it to different. So there's accountability, not just that person gets the money, that person gets the money, that person, and then you don't know what they're doing. We need everybody under one umbrella. That's just my idea, but who am I? Pipe dreaming, But make a long story short, dealing with guys like Segan, dealing with guys like Victor, taught me that We don't have friends like that. You know what I mean? Out here, these guys are just opportunists. I had a story, and they wanted to use it to further their what they're doing. You know, with no real intention to really give back or do anything good within the community. You know, and the proof is in the pudding. Because where are they now? Where are some of these people I mentioned, and some of these organizations that's still out there, that's been there for like 15, 20 years? Ask them. Go to so-called black organization. Ask them to give you a list of the children they've been serving, what they've been doing with the children, and how they help the children. Ask. They won't be able to answer it. I'll tell you that right now. These guys are out here just pocketing money. It's no different than your so-called black leaders who sold you guys out. You guys are sellouts. Straight up and down. And you guys sold out for the mighty dollar, for your own ego, for your own benefit. Again, where are you guys now? It's crazy. But anyways, just be careful who you call a friend when it comes to in this business world. Be careful who you call friends, because again, I came out with my book 27 letters. Before I even published it, I had fundraiser. Ask me how many friends show up. It's mostly strangers that came to support. People I barely knew. Like, those are the people that came to support. I have my vegan meal prep service. Mostly strangers that come out and support. Again, the ones that I know, that I've known for years that support, I appreciate you guys. I'm not talking about you guys. You guys are not regular friends, you know what I mean? But I'm talking about in business. Don't expect to have friends. Don't expect friends to look out for you. You gotta handle your own business. And looking back and dealing with a guy like Segan and Victor, I should have been more upfront. I should have been more assertive. But because I looked at them as me, and I always thought that, you know, like with the roles reversed, I'm not gonna take advantage of you. I'm gonna look out for you. What do you mean? You just came out of prison? I'm gonna look out for you, make sure you're good, all this stuff. I want to look out in the realest way. And you could ask, there's people that are incarcerated right now that I'm looking out for, you know what I mean? In various ways, shape, or form. So let them know when they're out. Come on. So I didn't think like that, the way these guys think, you know? Salute to the handful of people who are out there in this non-profit organization work, who are out there, you know what I mean, that are putting in the work, really putting the work and standing up for what they believe in and following their mission statement. A lot of these organizations are just there for show. Collect money, allocate it however they want to allocate it, make sure the funders are satisfied to a degree, and that's it. And to be quite frank, the people who are giving you the funding don't expect you guys to do much with it because they know you. And that's another part of the problem, is that we're getting funding trying to take down the system from the system. Like, who's going to pay you to go against them, to take them down? So sometimes I feel like certain people are put in positions to get this money because they know who they are. They know they're useless. They're not going to do nothing with it. That's why you always see, when it comes to the Black Power stuff, you see the usual people: Messy Jesse, Al Sharpton, My Youth, or aka My Son. You know what I mean? People like that. You know, the big sellouts. You know, they're self-serving. You know. Anyways, careful who you call friends when it comes to business. Okay, guys? I'm going to teach my children the same thing. Now, everybody that smiles in your face, that says, yo, let's work, is really looking to work with you. Most of them are just looking to take advantage of the situation. Alright? Now, me personally, I know better. Like, I'm very, very careful who I associate myself with, and that's why a lot of the work I do is in-house. I really don't go outside of the house to work to get my work done, and all my business endeavors are done within an umbrella. And as far as there's people I work with, there's other people that I trust, but it's very few. You know what I mean? There's very few people that I trust that I work with. So a lot of the times I get the job done on my own for the most part. That's why you get me not uploading videos often and so on and so forth, because I find it hard to just work with people in general, because I need genuine people around me, and a lot of people are not genuine, you know what I mean? Everybody's got their little ulterior motives and so on and so forth. But with that being said, understand the difference between friends and business, acquaintances and business. It's a big difference. All right? Anyways, check out this next video right here, talking about eating healthy. Why it's important to eat healthy and to make better choice as far as our food intake goes. Our diet is a catalyst for a lot of things, especially illness. All right? Anyways, I'll talk to you another time. And thank you for joining me on Don't Quote Me on the 27th Letter podcast. Peace.